Today on CityCast Philly, I'm here with the creators of the new extremely Philly, South Jersey animated show on Fox called Universal Basic Guys. Adam and Craig Malamut are two brothers and self-taught animators who are now bringing the culture and the accents of the Philly region to a national audience. The show's on Sunday nights right before The Simpsons. It's Thursday, October 17th. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Adam and Craig, thank you for being here on CityCast Philly.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so the premise of the show is that Mark and Hank used to work at a hot dog factory, and now robots have taken over. And so they are essentially getting a $3,000 check every month, which is known as Universal Basic Income. And also with that, can you explain how Philly and South Jersey are also main characters in this story?
So definitely, we're not real Philadelphians. We are merely South Jerseyans who occasionally would go to sports games in Philadelphia, restaurants in Philadelphia, or the Franklin Institute. So
I was a volunteer one summer at the Franklin Institute.
I have a confession to make too. I'm half New Jerseyan. I grew up in North Jersey, so
Okay.
I'm here with y'all.
Okay, fair. There we go. She knows. So growing up, though, I listened to tons of sports radio. I'm a huge Philly sports fan. And, I would literally go to sleep listening to like the late night radio shows and on like WIP. And just hearing all the people calling up being like, yeah, what are they doing? The defense stinks. They got to run the ball. And it's all this stuff. And it just like developed this character in my head, which was a little bit of that and a little bit of my own impulsiveness and a little bit of my dad and the way he talks. And I know the accent is sort of associated with Delco, but
Yes.
This is an accent that I heard all the time growing up. So to me, it's just a South Jersey accent. And a lot of people I know in South Jersey talk like that.
Mhm.
So we kind of had first created this character. And then we had his little brother, Hank, who is based on Craig when he looked up to me when he was innocent and thought I was like really smart and believed everything I said before he grew up and became the character of David, who's a little more skeptical of me, sort of David. And those are the characters we started with. And then we were trying to figure out what kind of concept to do with these guys. And then eventually we stumbled upon the Universal Basic Income as this interesting platform for thinking about like what guys like this do if they have the free time to sort of explore what their meaning is in life and that sort of thing.
So are the Hoagies brothers stand-ins for you two?
In some ways, yeah. Hank is young Craig.
He captures my naive innocence as a child, my
I like Hank.
gullibility. I would believe everything Adam would say.
Yeah.
He's 6 years older than me, so like, I'd be 9, he'd be 15, and he'd be getting into all sorts of schemes, and I'd totally buy it, hook, line, and sinker, because like I didn't know any better.
Yeah, like I would have. I always called Craig Hank there. By the way, the name Hank comes from when Craig was a little kid, and there's Barney was at the mall, and Barney said, "What's your name, little boy?" And Craig said, "Craig," and he's like, "Oh, we have Hank here, Hank." Craig didn't correct him, and so he just stayed Hank. So.
He called me Hank for the rest of the time. I sang the ABCs on his lap and then sat down, and my parents and siblings were laughing at me. They're like, Hank, when? And I was like, I'm not going to correct Barney.
Right.
Like, you kidding me?
Craig, I don't know if you want to speak to like the South Jersey elements of the show that we want to do.
Yeah, I mean, we were really excited to bring South Jersey to the national stage. We feel like whenever people talk about New Jersey, they're always talking about like North Jersey or like the shore or something like that. But it's typically North Jersey. And so we're like, yeah, but there's also South Jersey. We have a different accent and we root for different teams, okay?
Yes, that is true.
So we were really careful to make sure that like in the artwork, in the background artwork, a lot of the details felt true to South Jersey. And, it's funny because it's animated in Australia. So we were sending all these photo references, like, make sure you get the street signs right. And like, this is what our water tower looks like. And like, this is Atlantic City. Make sure the skyline looks like these kinds of buildings. And that was a lot of fun, just like teaching people from Australia the quirks of South Jersey, beautiful South Jersey.
And we also like spoof some stuff like Wawa is Wobos in our world. And they go to a bar called TJ Wooderhands. And that is, PJs and
Right,
stuff like
right.
that. Yeah,
PJ
exactly.
Houlihan's.
Yeah. We had a lot of fun with certain episodes being Jersey specific. So like we have an episode with the Jersey Devil. It's already come out, and where Mark and his stepson become friends with the Jersey Devil. And we try to be very true to the lore of the Jersey Devil. These are things I remember learning in like 6th grade when I went to like the Pine Barrens for like a field trip. And then we have an episode about water ice that's coming out. Where Mark runs a water ice
Water
shop.
ice.
Yeah, water ice. Yeah.
I like that you guys you mentioned Delco, because that means, for those who don't know and are listening, Delaware County. I also grew up in Upper Darby, Clifton Heights, so that's all Delco. Why did you give Mark and Hank the last name Hoagies? And you got to say it like that, Hoagies.
Yeah, Hoagies.
It feels like an inside joke, right?
I remember, we had a different name for him originally, and then when we changed the name to Mark Hoagies, suddenly we're like, okay, this makes sense for some reason. This is like just the summation of all
this guy's
sorts of
Mark Hoagies.
Yeah, South Jersey type. And it's sort of like, in like Game of Thrones, like Jon Snow, like his last name is reflective of the region he's in. It kind of feels like
Okay,
Hoagies would be like the bastard son's name for like the South Jersey region. I felt like that's sort of where it came from.
Adam, so you voice both of the brothers on the show.
Yes.
How
Typical
do you make
Mark fashion. Doing
How do you
everything.
make sure that you keep our region's accent true?
That's a great question. There's certain like primers I do, like for like I'll go like there's certain things people say that like I can get me in the mode. Like some people go, we talk to family and friends and go, you guys are so funny. You guys are so funny. And if I just say that, it kind of gets me in the mode. Sometimes I'll watch clips of Eagles fans and other things of people speaking in the accent to get ready. But usually like once I get in the booth, it's you just kind of, at this point, I can just kind of let it fly. And then with Hank, oh man, I don't know. How do I do the voice? I kind of just go in there and talk.
Now, Craig, do you find that like that's offensive at all, or like you think that's cool?
That I'm the dumbest character on the show is based on me? No, it's fine. It was me as a child. That's how I
think Craig might be more embarrassed or like that, like, or more offended that when we came to the voice of Hank, Craig and I both did the voice. And Craig's really good at Hank, too. So, like, if something happened to me, he could definitely stand in for Hank.
Yeah, I can't do Mark, though. So
yeah, Mark I got. But, like, we both recorded Hank, and then we played it to, like, a jury of, like, just, like, a focus group of our friends and said, which one objectively do you like better? And I barely edged him out to get both voices.
By, like, one vote.
Wow.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I was just like, Adam does a great job with Hank, and I'm not going to just grab this character from him because of selfish reasons. I needed the show to be the best it can be.
Yeah.
So I play a lot of ancillary, bizarre characters on the show. So I'm like the chimpanzee that, in the first episode that has a robot voice. And I'm like customer number 3 ordering water ice. So check that episode out.
Okay.
Also, Connor, there's a character that looks just
Connor,
like Craig named Connor who works at the like UPS store thing.
Yeah.
So.
But most animals I cover.
Gotcha. More with the creators of Universal Basic Guys after the break. Okay, so you both are self-taught animators. Tell us a little bit about how you went from Cherry Hill in South Jersey to Hollywood with a show in one of the hottest time slots on TV. What's the origin story here?
Oh, man. Well, it's a long, boring one, but I'll try to make it interesting, which is, we were always, I think both of us were interested in animation. When I was younger, I always did funny voices, or at least I thought they were funny, and I could draw and I could do music and all these things, but I wasn't like the best at any of those things, but I could do a lot of those things. And I thought that cartoons and animation was a way to put that all together and make that sort of a superpower. And I ended up moving to LA, and I worked in like reality TV shows and clip shows. And I was basically just producing on those things. And one day I said, you know what? The reason I came out here was to make cartoons. So I'm going to just teach myself how to animate. I went online. It was lynda.com tutorials, which I think is now LinkedIn Learning or something. And I just did a bunch of tutorials, and it made these horrible cartoons where the heads were just floating around and all they did was talk. And I just recorded myself. And actually the first cartoon that I made that got some traction was Chase Utley and Ryan Howard of the Phillies just talking about how much they love the feeling of hitting home runs. And then the button of it was just that, like, you know what's even better? Grand slams. It was like so dumb. But it got some traction in the Philly area. And that was sort of the start of it. That became a show called Sports Friends, which went on Yahoo Screen. And then Craig joined me. And Craig, you can go from there.
Craig, you were a rocket scientist?
Not quite. I did study outer space. I did astronomy in college, and I was thinking of going on to study that full time or do something related. But Adam had sold this Sports Friends series, and animation takes so much time. It's so labor intensive. And he quickly learned that when he had to deliver 6 episodes in a short amount of time. So he was like, Craig, he's like, here's the login for all the online tutorials. Like, just teach yourself how to draw backgrounds. And so I ended up putting backgrounds and helping him out. And eventually, when I graduated, he was like, why don't you come out to LA? We got picked up for a second season, and we can make the second season together. And that was sort of like my crash course in animation with Adam. And then from there, we made some other series. We made Game of Zones for Bleacher Report, and that ended up taking off. And at Bleacher Report was really where we honed our skills a lot more and became a little more professional. We hired real animators to help us make the show, and we were focusing more on the writing and the voice acting and the directing. And that became sort of a training ground for us to eventually become showrunners on the show we're at today. We were able to kind of learn every part of the process on a smaller scale, making a web series. And then we were able to take the leap in around like 2020 to television.
Is Universal Basic Guys the most prominent portrayal of the Philly region in a cartoon form ever? Is this like the first time we're getting a Philly cartoon family?
Well, I'll say that like it's definitely represented in TV with Abbott Elementary and Always Sunny and a bunch of other
Mayor of Easttown.
Yeah, Mayor of Easttown. But as far as cartoons, I don't know of any. And part of the reason we were excited to make this is like we always find that even on a lot of these shows, like they don't kind of capture that Delco accent, and that's kind of, or like a South Jersey accent and so we wanted to make sure that it sounded like the way we hear the area. And as far as I know, I don't know any other cartoons that take place in the region, but I could be wrong.
So I was not surprised when I heard you say earlier that you grew up listening to Philly sports radio. And so the episode that's airing this Sunday at 8 p.m. is all about this head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's in a hot seat. So this is like really relevant right now because our Eagles head coach, Nick Sirianni, was also kind of in the hot seat this week. And we have a clip of Mark and Tammy taking their neighbor David to his first Eagles game.
Just have fun. Eagles fans get a bad rap.
I don't know, Tam. There's a reason they got a jail under the stadium.
Oh, come on. Eagles jail's a myth, like the Jersey Devil or those Ben Franklin bridge trolls.
Wait, troll? Do you mean tolls? No, David, trolls, okay? There's these little trolls that live under the Ben Franklin Bridge. Everybody knows that.
You say that like it's a fact.
I actually have a Super Bowl ring, so everything I say is a fact.
So
Okay,
in the
well,
show,
I
Mark
can buy it
Hoagies takes over the coaching job. And what I love about this episode is that Mark is like in this moment living out basically like every Eagles fan's dream, right? And he's like, he sounds like that Eagles fan on sports radio. He's demanding that the team plays tougher and runs the ball. Do you think that it's like the timing of this episode really works right now?
Yeah, I would say definitely right now because Sirianni's getting a lot of heat, and you're hearing especially with the recent pass to Saquon Barkley that resulted in the Eagles losing a game, and everyone's like, run a friggin' ball, you gotta run a ball. And that is exactly what Mark's attitude is. And so, yeah, unfortunately, it is we wrote this, a year and a half ago, and it was big risk because the Eagles were coming off the Super Bowl, and everything like that.
Right.
And unfortunately, yeah, it is relevant. I wish it wasn't, and the Eagles were, more dominant at the moment. But yeah, it is a little bit relevant. And I feel like it's a little bit of a universal thing that, in my experience, of you always have these dads who are just like, you gotta run the ball, you gotta play defense. All these armchair coaches, and this is the idea. Yeah, what happens when a guy like this actually gets to take the reins for a little bit? So.
Without giving away too much of the episode, the storyline features the Eagles jail, and it's a holding cell that basically used to be there at the vet. There's a Giants fan dying in the Eagles jail. I shouldn't laugh because like my dad's probably like, Trenae, what? This episode is so Philly. There's even these Ben Franklin Bridge trolls. Did you worry that it was like too niche? Like, does America understand like how funny this is?
I hope Americans know Benjamin Franklin and,
Right.
And that he's from Philly. I do think we sometimes get a little indulgent with the Philly references, but we tried to keep it, broad enough that people will know. Like I think in season 2 we get a little more obscure, unfortunately, but or fortunately, depending on where you live. But yeah, with this one, we'll find out.
Yeah, this one is definitely. I feel like the what's universal about it is that Philly fans will relate to it because it's like about Philly fans, and anyone who's not an Eagles fan will relate to it because it's about Philly fans being idiots. So whether you find Philly fans annoying or you are a Philly fan, I think there's something for everybody here.
Yeah. This was probably one of my favorite episodes of the series so far. You guys are on before The Simpsons, like no big deal. How cool is that? Have the Hoagies brothers met Homer and the guys down at Moe's?
Well, first of all, by the way, nobody says Hoagies brothers. You got it right. Everyone's like Hoagie brothers, and like you're the first one who actually said Hoagies brothers. So that's like really impressive.
Thank you.
And they have not yet, but I will say it was very surreal. We were at Comic-Con and we look across the harbor at downtown San Diego, and there's a big animation domination mural on a whole building, and it's like Peter Griffin and Bob Belcher and Bart and Lisa or whatever, and then it's like Hank and Mark up there too, and that was like so surreal. And so this whole thing has been so surreal, and we're so heads down working so hard all the time that sometimes you have to like take a step back and get perspective and realize how cool this is. It's like sometimes I'll be watching a baseball game or something, and like I'll see a commercial for a show, and I'm like, oh my God, that's right, we have a show on Fox. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we watched these cartoons growing up, like Simpsons and Family Guy and things like that. And now to be among them is just completely surreal.
Well, congratulations, guys, for getting a South Jersey / Philly family into Hollywood.
Yeah, we did it. We did it.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam and Craig, for joining me on CityCast Philly.
Thank you so much for speaking with us. Yeah.
Thank you. This is a lot of fun.
Universal Basic Guys is on Sunday nights on Fox. Thanks, Adam and Craig. Go Birds!
Yeah, go Birds. Thank you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. If you enjoyed this episode, tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye. Now, if you want Mark and Hank to come on to CityCast Philly, I don't know, trying to sneak that in there. That'd be cool. You can animate me. That'd be cool.
Yeah. We'll get you in the background.
Yo, Trenae, top podcast host in Philadelphia, dude. This is the big time.
Oh man, this is so cool.